southern Italy, early 20th century, around 1918 AD. The mountains of Gargano rose like ancient witnesses over the small Capuchin monastery of San Giovanni Rotondo. Their stone faces had watched empires rise and fall, watched pilgrims pass and saints be born in obscurity. In those years, the world beyond Italy was bleeding from the Great War, but here, in this quiet corner of Apulia, another kind of battle was unfolding. One unseen by armies, unheard by cannons, yet no less violent. Padre Pio was 31 years old when the shadows began to gather more closely around him. Born Francesco Forgine in 1887, he had entered religious life as a frail boy with burning eyes and a will that refused to bend. Even as a child, he spoke of angels who guided him and dark figures that tormented his prayers. The villagers whispered, unsure whether to marvel or fear. In Italy, such things were not unheard of. The culture was steeped in saints' legends, demonic warnings, and a Catholic faith that saw the invisible world as very near. But Padre Pio's experiences were not stories from the past. They were present, personal, and relentless. By 1918, the young friar had already suffered years of illness, spiritual dryness, and scrutiny from church authorities. Yet nothing prepared him for what began to happen when he knelt alone in prayer, especially at night. He would later write that the demons did not come like monsters from imagination. They came as mockers, whisperers, violent intruders into the silence of his cell. They laughed at his vows. They mocked Christ. They accused him of pride and hypocrisy. And sometimes they did not remain unseen. The stone walls of his cell were cold. But what chilled him was the sudden weight in the air, the sense that something had entered without opening a door. His heart would race, not with surprise, but with recognition. He knew this presence. He had known it since childhood. If you were alone in a dark monastery cell, convinced that evil itself had come for you, would you stand firm or lose heart? Comment below and let us know. And don't forget to like and follow for more true stories of faith under fire. The demons came when he was weakest, after hours in the confessional, after nights without sleep, after Mass when his strength was spent. They struck him physically, throwing him from his bed, shaking his body, leaving bruises that puzzled the other friars. But worse than the blows were the words. They told him he was deceiving everyone, that God had abandoned him, that his suffering was meaningless. Padre Pio would clutch his rosary until his fingers cramped. He would whisper the names of Jesus and Mary, not loudly, but with a desperate focus, as if each syllable were a nail anchoring him to reality. Sometimes the attacks lasted minutes, sometimes hours. Italy at this time was a nation wounded in body and soul. Families mourned sons lost to war. Faith was strong, but fear was stronger. Superstition lived alongside doctrine, and the church walked carefully between belief and discernment. Reports of mystical phenomena were often met with suspicion. Padre Pio knew this. He feared that speaking too openly would bring doubt upon his vocation, or worse, scandal upon the church. Yet heaven, it seemed, was already moving. In September of 1918, after a long morning of prayer in the choir loft, Padre Pio returned to his cell exhausted. The air felt heavy charged. As he sat, a searing pain pierced his hands, his feet, and his side. He collapsed, gasping. When he looked down, blood stained his habit. The wounds of Christ, the stigmata, had appeared upon his body. This was not a weapon he had asked for. The pain was constant, burning, humbling. It drew attention he never wanted. Doctors came. Church officials observed. Skeptics whispered. Yet the demons did not retreat. If anything, they grew angrier. They mocked him for the wounds. They accused him of trickery. They attacked him with renewed violence, as if enraged that heaven had mocked him. Padre Pio began to understand something terrifying and profound the closer he was drawn to Christ. The more fiercely evil resisted him. Could you have continued your mission if every step forward brought greater suffering? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your voice matters here. But heaven did not leave him defenseless. During one particularly brutal night, after being thrown against the floor and left trembling, Padre Pio prayed not for relief, but for clarity. "Lord," he whispered, "teach me how to fight without hatred." In that moment, the terror receded, not fully, but enough for silence to return. In the silence, he felt something different. Not a vision, not a voice, but a certainty. The weapon was not force. It was obedience, humility, endurance. From that night on, Padre Pio embraced suffering as participation, not punishment. Each Mass became a battlefield where he offered himself alongside Christ. Each confession he heard became an act of resistance against despair. The demons still came, but they could not endure what he now wielded. The rosary became his shield, the Eucharist his sword, confession his stronghold. Witnesses would later say that when Padre Pio entered the confessional, the atmosphere changed. People wept without knowing why. Long-forgotten sins rose to their lips. Some claimed he knew their secrets without being told. Others said he smelled of flowers after intense prayer. For Padre Pio, these were not signs of victory, but responsibility. The attacks did not cease. There were nights when he screamed, and other friars rushed to his cell to find him bruised, shaking but alive. He would smile weakly and say, "The devils play tricks. Pray for me." If a holy man asked you to pray for him, would you realize how serious the battle truly was? Let us know in the comments, and follow the channel for more stories hidden behind history. Church authorities, cautious and concerned, restricted his ministry more than once. He was forbidden to celebrate public Mass, forbidden to hear confessions. To Padre Pio, this was a deeper wound than any demonic blow. He obeyed in silence, believing obedience itself to be a weapon forged by heaven. Years passed. The world changed. Fascism rose in Italy. War returned to Europe. Through it all, Padre Pio remained in his monastery, bleeding, praying, enduring. The demons never stopped coming, but they never won. He wrote to his spiritual directors that the devil was like a chained dog, terrifying, loud, but unable to bite unless one stepped too close. His advice was simple. Born of suffering, stay close to God. By the 1940s and 1950s, thousands traveled to San Giovanni Rotondo. Soldiers, mothers, skeptics, and saints in. The making waited hours, sometimes days, just to confess to him. Many did not know of the battles he fought at night. They only saw the peace in his eyes. The weapon heaven gave him was not visible. It left no scars on his enemies, but it transformed souls. Toward the end of his life, weak and nearly blind, Padre Pio still celebrated Mass. His hands trembled. Blood soaked the cloths. Yet his voice remained steady. Those present felt that heaven was very near and hell very far away. On September 23, 1968, Padre Pio died quietly after Mass, whispering the names he had spoken in battle all his life. Jesus, Mary. The demons did not come for him that day. What remains is the lesson he lived, that evil does not flee from strength, but from surrender to God. That the greatest weapon is faith-tested and chosen again and again in darkness. If Padre Pio's story moved you, ask yourself, What unseen battles might you be fighting, and what weapon are you choosing? Share your thoughts below, like this video, and follow the channel for more true stories where history meets the unseen.